Hello everyone, my name is Kazi and today we are going to start our new biology chapter body fluids and circulation of class 11th. So this time we are starting off a new grade, completely new grade because why not? So today we are going to do the introduction of the chapter. We are going to do the introduction to blood, its composition and formed elements. So before we start our lesson, I would recommend you to go to our website www.rajiklasses.com. Link is in the description. In the website we have many MCQs that you may want to solve, some poems, some recipes if you're too bored to study right now. So yeah, we will also upload this lectures MCQs in this website. So yeah, you should go there and check it out and try to answer those MCQs. So let's start with the introduction. It is essential to have efficient mechanisms for the movement of materials to and from the cells. Here, materials can be anything. Example like oxygen. Oxygen is needed, right, for the cell to function properly. Oxygen, sugar, that is glucose. Different group of organisms have evolved different methods to transport. Here material can also be carbon dioxide or any other waste material because it can't stay in the cell or the cell will get damaged. So yeah, different group of organisms, like there are many organisms that don't even have a heart. Some complex organisms like us have hearts and different big organ systems. Some do not have. So example is spongyl coelacanths. They do not have a heart. They simply circulate water from the surroundings through their bodies to transport materials. It isn't that efficient, but sponges and coelacanths are not that complex. They do not need that efficiency. So they just go for simplicity of circulating water. So complex organisms use special fluids within their bodies to transport such materials. Here complex organisms can be us, a deer, a lion, a cat, a dog. We all have hearts. So yeah, we say special fluids can be lymph, blood. Blood is the most common example. So we use these special fluids to transport such materials across the body, throughout the body. So let's go with the first example, a common example, blood. Blood is the most commonly used body fluid by most higher organisms, including humans. You must have known that. Blood is a special connective tissue, consisting of fluid, pneumatics, plasma, and formed elements. We'll look at plasma and formed elements today in this lecture. So yeah, you want to stick around for that. So let's see the composition of blood first before we head on to plasma, which is 55%. So this is blood, and blood consists of 55% plasma, 45% cells. Here cells can be called formed elements, as we saw before. So yeah, let's see about plasma first. Plasma is a straw colored viscous fluid consisting nearly 55% of the blood. We saw this before. You can see that it is looking straw colored and it is viscous. So yeah, this is the percentage of substances in plasma. 8% is proteins, 92% is water. Here proteins 8% are fibrinogens, globulins, albumins. This means that proteins like fibrinogens, globulins, and albumins can be found in plasma. Let's look briefly into these proteins. So yeah, before we head on there, there's a disclaimer. Plasma also contains small amounts, less than 1%, of minerals like calcium and sodium, magnesium, HCO3 carbonate, and chlorine. So fibrinogens are needed for clotting or coagulation of blood. Coagulations means clotting, it's just a fancy word. So yeah, let's look at globulins now, and this is what an fibrinogens looks like. So yeah, let's look into globulins. Globulins are primarily involved in defense mechanism of the body. This is a globulin, and globulin are like white blood cells, help white blood cells in defense mechanism of the body. Let's see albumins. Albumins is this kind of jumbled up orange color. So albumins have an osmotic pressure in the body. You will learn about osmotic pressure in physics or maths. Before we actually go to the formed elements, let's look at some extra notes. Glucose, amino acid, lipids are found in the plasma because they're always in transit of the body. This means that sugar means the energy of the body, glucose. Energy of the body is ATP, but glucose is needed to make ATP. So yeah, I'm going to call it sugar here. So yeah, glucose, amino acid, lipids are needed almost everywhere, so they're always in transit of the body, so they can be found in plasma. Sometimes there's clot the blood are also present in the plasma, like fibrinogens that we saw, and without those substances, plasma can be called a serum. This is a question asked in many tests, so you might want to remember that. So let's go to the formed elements now. Brief explanation before we head on. So when we think of cells in the blood, the first thing that comes in your mind is RBCs, right? Because they're the most abundant. Yeah, as RBCs, WBCs, and platelets are called formed elements. These formed elements are nearly 45% of the blood. We saw in the composition of blood there. So yeah, formed elements or cells in the blood are consist nearly of 45%. 55 is of plasma and less than 1% is of the minerals that we saw. Yeah. So let's look into RBCs first. RBCs can also be called erythrocytes, another complex name given. So RBCs are the most abundant of all cells in blood. Yeah, that is most known by everybody. The color of blood is red because of it. And a healthy man has 4 to 5 million to 5.5 millions of RBCs per millimeter cube. Millimeter cube is a unit of volume. So it means that every 1 millimeter cube, 1 unit of millimeter in volume consists of 5 to 5.5 million. That's incredible because 1 millimeter is like so small. So RBCs are formed in the red bone marrow of adults and have an average lifespan of 120 days. So they live like 4 months, and then they are recycled in the spleen. Because of this feature, spleen is also called the graveyard of RBCs. RBCs do not have a nucleus and they are biconcave. What biconcave means, you must have known concave mirrors from 6th standard, right? So they're like an 8th standard. So they're like concave mirrors opposite to each other, like biconcave, and do not have a nucleus so that they can have more oxygen in them. And that the thing that helps the RBC in transporting the nucleus is called an hemoglobin, and a healthy individual has 12 to 16 grams of hemoglobin in every 100 milliliter of blood and 100 milliliter of blood. So in every 100 milliliter of blood there will be 12 to 16 gram of hemoglobin. So yeah, these molecules also play significant role in transition of gases. There's a problem in hemoglobin is that it is more receptive to a molecule that we will learn in as 12th standard in human diseases. So yeah, we will learn about that in detail in 12th standard. So yeah, as you can see, they're biconcave. These are RBCs. 2 biconcaves here, 1 and another downside like that. So biconcave. Let's see about WBCs first. WBCs are also called leukocytes, another fancy name, because why not? So WBCs are colorless because of the absence of the substance like hemoglobin. RBCs are colorless because they don't have hemoglobin, because they don't have to transport oxygen or anything. They just have to kill these pathogens. They have a nucleus and have lesser in number, which averages 6,000 to 8,000 per millimeter cube of blood. So in RBCs it was 5.5 to 5.5 million per millimeter cube. Here it is 6k to 8k. That's a lot less number, right? But we don't need that much RBC. We don't want to waste our glucose on that. So let's say different types of WBCs according to how they help us kill the pathogens in our body. Oh, before that, let's take a quick revision. They are usually short-lived. There are two types: granulocytes or agranulocytes. So yeah, we will learn about what these are again in human disease, because that chapter is focused around WBCs or leukocytes. These are the examples of the white blood cells. These monocytes, lymphocytes. They are agranulocytes, I think. Eosinophil, basophil, neutrophil are granulocytes. Yeah, let's go to phagocytes. Phagocytes, what they do is that they just go and engulf the pathogen, like just go and eat it up, but then they die after they eat a certain amount of pathogens, because yeah, neutrophils are the most abundant cells. Neutrophils, like we saw here, this is a neutrophil. They have a huge, like 60-65% out of WBCs. They are called agranulocytes, I think. Yeah, monocytes, neutrophils and monocytes, 66 to 8% are phagocytes. Yeah, so this is a neutrophil. I'm going to be referring to this image again in the next slides as well. So yeah, this is a neutrophil. This is a basophil. This is the most abundant cell of the WBCs, 60-65% of them. Let's go how some the examples of WBCs that help us by secreting chemicals. Basophils secrete them, and they are like 0.5 to 1%, and they secrete histamine, serotonin, and heparin, and more. This is a basophil, and I think how they find out what a WBC type is by, like, if they put acid with the eosinophil, they turn a certain color. So yeah, that's how they interpret what the cell is, I think, because eosinophil means acid, baso means base, it will react with base, neutrophil neutrals. So yeah, let's see that didn't fit in the last three categories. Eosinophils, 2 to 3% resist infection, are also associated with allergic reactions. So if you have an allergic reaction, eosinophils are the one that is causing that, most probably, and they're like 2 to 3%. Lymphocytes are of two major types, B and T. These lymphocytes are going to irritate you very much again in human health and disease. They have a very complex system of how they work. This is based on eosinophil, and they're wearing headphones. Yeah, so let's see one last, platelets. You might remember from 6th, I think, 6th or 7th, and thrombocytes, platelets. Platelets are, like you might remember, they help in clotting of blood or coagulation, as they say in this grade. So platelets are cell fragments produced from megakaryocytes. Megakaryocytes are like special structures that are formed in bone marrow, I think. Yeah, so let's look into detail now on thrombocytes or platelets. Platelets can release a variety of chemicals that help in clotting of blood. So they release a lot of chemicals that help in clotting of blood. If you have less platelets, it will cause a disease, family hairline. It goes through. You will learn more about that in basic inheritance. Blood normally contains 1.5 to 3.5 lakh of platelets. Wow. Yeah, and a reduction of this number can lead to clotting disorders. So if it goes lesser than this, there will be a clotting disorder, like I said. And if you get any cut, like even a paper cut, you will not stop bleeding. It will cause a very big shortage of blood. These are platelets, as we can see. Yeah, so yeah, that will be the end of this video. Thank you for SlidesGo for letting us use this slide. The SlidesGo is pretty good. Link is in the description again. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can email us at tracingwithin100@gmail.com. Visit our website at tracingwithin.com. You will find a feedback form there. You can ask us questions also there. So thank you for joining this lecture. Please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. So yeah, thank you. Bye bye.